Okay, good morning and welcome to Yeshiva YouTube, just Daf It. Today we're doing Nedarim Daf It Gimel number 13. We have an amazing share for you today. Let's get right into it. The Gemara left off talking about a question it posed on Daf Yud Aleph and Beis, whether we say when a person takes a neder, do we assume Bikaro Kamatvis or Bahashta Kamatvis or Bahetera Kamatvis? For example, you have a piece of basar zivchei shlamim and basar, which is kachim, and you say this loaf of bread or this piece of meat is zekazeh, do we assume he's talking about the basar shlamim before the zrikas damim, which was hektish, or after the zrikas damim, where now it's like chulin, anyone's allowed to eat it, and therefore it wouldn't the meat that he's comparing it to wouldn't be asar with the koach eder. So the Gemara hasn't resolved this question. So the Gemara on the bottom of Yud Beis on the Beis says, about 5 lines up from the bottom, Lema Ketanai, say the dispute, Rami Bar Chametz Shaila, is actually Chamal said Tanaim. Arei like a Bechor. Person says this meat or this loaf of bread is like a Bechor. Rabbi Yaakov Oser. Rabbi Yaakov says it's Oser, it's a neder. Rabbi Yehuda Matir, he says Mutter. Hey Chidami, what's the case of this price? So you name Lifnei Zrikas Dam. We're talking about a piece of Bechor meat before the Zrikas Damim. My time with the man shari. Everyone agrees you're comparing davar aser, davar hanad, or davar akorban. We're talking about meat that is, meaning you specify and you say it's like the meat of a bechor after zrigas damim. My time with the man aser. Everyone agrees that it's mutter. Alav must be. Gimel manal at the top. The mach is basar bechor, or mach is basar deheach gabe. He has two pieces of meat. One piece of bechor meat, which the zrigas damim already happened. And another piece of meat which is chulin. V'amar zeh kazeh. He says this is like this. This is like this. V'tnahi. And it's machlos tanoi. Rabbi Yaakov aser because he says bikara kamat. It's really you're attaching it. You're comparing it to the meat of bechor before the zrikas dam, which was aser. And Rabbi Yehuda holds no. Bahashta kamat. Where's low? That's not the machlos tanoi. The kulei amma legatnei zrikas dam. Everyone agrees. Bikara kamatis. Everyone agrees, or at least the case is talking about where you're comparing it to a piece of meat. You're saying like a bechor lifnei zrikas dam. So it's also my time is on the shari. What's the reason that Rebuta Matir is Amakrach Yidar? He says you have to make a neder. Ach Yidar with another, right? We'll learn this Gemara later on. The Gemara says when you can only make a neder when you compare it to something which is nadur for a korban or something like that, which you consecrate willingly, something which is aser, like pig meat, right? It's always aser. So therefore, it doesn't work to attach another to that. So, fuge bechor davar aser. It's davar aser. Bechor never. You're not makdish a bechor. Once the bechor is born, it's automatically kadosh. Umad asar, and according to Rabbi Yaakov, what is he? So what is he saying? Amakra la Hashem. Ish Yidar neder laHashem. It's an extra word laHashem. Obviously, neder is for Hashem. Why is it laHashem? The Rabbos davar aser. To include one case of davar aser, in this case of davar aser, we'll see why this case is different. Uman deshari, according to Rabbi Yehuda, says mutter laHashem ayapid. What does it do with Hashem? Right? When you compare meat to a chatas and asham, right? Because I sinned, I did an avera which warrants me to bring a korban chatas and korban asham. So therefore, in a sense, it's like you might think it's like a davar aser when I consecrate an animal to fulfill my chiyuv chatas or chiyuv asham. So therefore, you might think that it's like a davar aser. Kamashpan la Hashem, no, it's a davar another. Maraj la rabos chatas v'asham. Why did Rabbi Yehuda include chatas v'asham hoti as a bechor and say bechor is considered davar aser? Mar beni chatas v'asham shumapis beneder. Right, he has to consecrate it. He has an animal which is chul, and he has to say this animal is now for the korban chatas, so he's consecrating the animal. Right, when it's born, it's already kadosh. He says no. Right? There's also an aspect of making it kadosh. You consecrating the animal. The Sanya, the Bryce says Mishum Rebbe. Rebbe says right when the bechor is born in your house, the firstborn animal from its mother, you're supposed to be makdish. You're supposed to say Hareza bechor. Shnemar has chor takdish. Says this chor you should be makdish. Must be. You're saying it's kadosh. Oman Deshari. According to Yehuda, what does it do with Rebbe's teaching? Presumably, we hold a Rebbe. You're supposed to say this is a bechor. Kilo makdash milo mikdash. Yes, the chachila you're supposed to say I raised that bechor. But even if you're not makdash, it still has kedusha with the evid. So therefore, you're not really consecrating it. So therefore, it would be excluded. It's called davar asar, not davar hanadar. The Gemara does not answer this shaila around brachama. I would like to give my perspective on what the halacha should be. The Rishonim delve into this, what the halacha should be. I'll tell you in Enid Ben Sion what I think the halacha should be and why the halacha should be as I think it is. Imra Kedirim, the Mishnah continues in Yudam and Beis. The Gemara says, Imra Kedirim, you compare meat or you compare a loaf of bread, Imra like a sheep, or Kedirim, even though it's not specified, a sheep that is a korban, or Kedirim like parts of the Mizbeah, based on Migdash, right? Cubicles in near the Azara, that where the animals are kept, right, which are also concretized. Tana Imra, the Rice says, nonetheless, if you say these things, we assume you're makdash it. You're comparing it to hekdesh. Tana, the Rice says, Imra leimra ki imra. Any of these lashonas, whether you say sheep, or you say leimra for a sheep, or ki imra, like a sheep, dirim, ladirim, kadirim, eitzim, leitzim, ke'eitzim, ishim, leishim, ke'ishim, Mizbeach, 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 Heichal, Heichal, Keheichal, Yerushalayim, Yerushalayim, Yerushalayim. All these cases are mentioned in the Mishnah. Kulan she'ochalach. If you say any of these things, whether you say without a kuf, or with a kuf, or with a hey, if you say she'ochalach, right, Yerushalayim, she'ochalach, right, it's like a korban Yerushalayim. We think you mean the korbanos Yerushalayim. So then it's aser. Lo ochalach. If you say Yerushalayim lo ochalach, mutter, right? What Yerushalayim? We interpret that to mean Yerushalayim la'ochalach, meaning what I don't eat from you is like Yerushalayim. What I do eat from you, what I do benefit from you, is not Yerushalayim, and therefore it's mutter. Man shamina le deshani le shani le imra ki imra. Right? Who is the author of this brisa? So we say it must be Rav Meir here, because Rav Meir doesn't say you have to say ka, even say imra is good enough. Rabbi Yehuda in the end of the Mishnah, you know, you have to say ki. Or li, you have to compare it to it. Just saying Yerushalayim, we don't assume it's a good comparison. Remeiri, Emasef, I say the end of the Bryce, and Chul Ochalach Mutter. By all of them, if you say Lo Ochalach, so it's Mutter. Right, that was the second part of the Bryce. Of Atnan, however, we learned, in the Mishnah, we'll see, right, coming up in a couple of lines, Look Korban, or La Korban Lo Ochalach, Remeir Oser. Right, if you say la korban la ochalach for a korban, now presumably the Gemara at this point thinks la korban is with a patach, right? La korban, which sounds like lo korban la ochalach. Remeir ozer, Meir aser. Amar Rabbi Nasak Omer li korban yehei lefich lo ochalach. Rabbi understands it because la is li with a shva, right? And basically you're saying li korban, whatever is a korban yehei, therefore I won't eat from you, right? So also over here in the Brisa over here where he says Imra ki imra, le imra, right? Lo ochalach. Why is it mutter, right? It should be ki imra. Lefichach. We should take his words, like according to Rameir. Lefichach. Rabbi says lo ochalach. So the Gemara is lo kash. Had amar lo le imra. Had amar le imra. In the Mishnah, Rabbi Abba explains the Mishnah in the next lines of the Gemara. Rameir was talking about. We said with a shva le imra. It should be for an imra lo. Therefore, lefichach, we could add the word lefichach, lo ochalach, and therefore you're comparing it to a korban, and it's aser. However, if you say la imra or lo imra, la with a patach is interpreted as lo imra, then it's like a double negative. Lo imra, it's not kadosh, lo ochalach, what I don't eat from you. Meaning, we have to say double negative is usually a positive. What I do eat from you is like a korban. Reb Meir, as we'll see, as we said before, he doesn't hold miklal out the shomei hain. We don't infer one from the next, right? When it comes to Nedarim, that I explained the Nedarim Ben Sion on Daf It Aleph, you have to actually state it explicitly, and you have to state it in a positive and a negative way, just like a Tanai. So therefore, according to Meir, we don't say Miklal Shomei Hain, and therefore, if you said La, it would be ineffective. If you say Li, then we interpret it like Rabbi Abba says, Lafikach La Ochalach. Speaking of that Mishnah, the Mishnah says, "Omer korban ola mincha chatas total shlamish and ochalach asra." Right, you compare the piece of meat to any of the following; they're all korbanos asra. May Yehuda matir, ha korban or Yehuda matir is like we said on the end of Mishnah on the Daf Yud Beis, because you didn't say, you just said ola, you didn't say ke ola or la ola or ha ola, you didn't compare it to. HaKorban, kick korban, korban sha'ochalach aser. If you say HaKorban, korban or korban. So we'll see how this is not Rabbi Yehuda because korban is the same thing. We didn't say kick korban. Sha'ochalach aser. Lik korban lo'ochalach remeir aser. The last line in the Mishnah said, "Look, korban." We'll see. Rabbi Abba is going to give his explanation. Remeir asers. Gemara says, "Kasani korban hakorban ki korban shochalach aser." Stama Tanaka Remeir. Who's the author on Mishnah? What's Remeir? The Loshani live in Imra li Imra. You don't have to say Kim or Limra or Hi Imra. Just say Imra. You're a mayor. How Tani hak korban shochalach aser. So the next line in the Mishnah says hak korban. We say with a hey. The aser Atanya, but Brisa elsewhere. Modem Chamim Yehuda. The Chamim are presumably Remeir. Remeir argues in Rabbi Yehuda. Omer ha korban ha ola ha mincha ha chatas shochalach shemuter shlanadar ze al b'chayi korban. If you say hey, the Gemara is not distinguishing now between hey aleph and just ha korban. It's not considered a neder because when you're saying ha korban, it's like saying ha korban. It's like I'm not going to eat from you, not because I'm being matfis, I'm connecting it to a korban, because by the life of a korban, right? It's like a shvuah, by the life of the king or something like that. The life of the korban, I'm not going to eat from you. So there's no hatfasa, but there's no connection according to the Rush. The only way you create a neder is through hatfasa. So then how could we, and Rabbi Meir agrees to that, so how do we understand that part of the Mishnah? So the Gemara on top of Yigilon on base says, Lo kash, hada amar ha korban, hada amar ha korban. You say ha, hey aleph, that's what the Brisa says. Right, then you're swearing by the life of the korban. You say ha korban, and then you're comparing it to a korban. My taima, chaye korban korban. We say ha aleph, you're saying by the life of the korban, which is not comparing it to a korban. Kasani lik korban ochalach. Last time the Mishnah says lik korban ochalach for meir oser. The Gemara at this point vowelizes la korban with a patach, as I've said many times. He doesn't hold, which should be la, is like lo korban lo ochalach, which is a double negative, which would imply remeir hold and kalav t'shmei. We know he doesn't. Amar Rabbi Nasek Omer lik korban yehlefichach lo ochalach. Rabbi Abba changes it. No, it's not vowelized with a patach, rather with a shva lik korban, and therefore. What did he mean to say? Lik korban for a korban. It should be, therefore I won't eat from you, and therefore he is comparing it to a korban. Mishnah says, Omer lechaveiro konam pi medaber imcha. He says, my mouth has a neder on it from speaking with you. Yadai ose imcha. My hands have a neder from doing any malacha for you, for helping you out in any way with my hands. Ragli malachas imcha. There's a neder on my feet from taking a walk from you. We can't go walking, we can't go jogging together. I'm sorry, you have to remain fat for the rest of your life. Usser. The neder take effect. The Gemara says, "Raminu chomer b'shvuos." We have a brayse elsewhere. It says, "Nedarim b'shvuos." There's a certain chomer, a certain stringency by shvuos more so than nedarim, and a certain chomer by nedarim more so than shvuos. Chomer by nedarim. What's the the stringency by nedarim? Nedarim chal mal mitzvah k'mrishos. Nedarim, as we'll see later, if you take a neder, then you're not going to sit in a sukkah. A neder, the sukkah from sitting in it, it takes effect. You can't take a shvuah against doing a mitzvah. Shua, I'm not going to sit in the sukkah, doesn't take effect because you're mushroom and harasina, you have to sit in a sukkah. Mashen came b'shua. Shuas don't take effect on mitzvah. Chor b'shuas, shuas chalos adar sheish b'mamish. Shuas, v'sheimo mamish. Shuas are chal on, right, practical, physical things, and also on actions. Take a shua, I'm not going to go walking with you. Darish ein mamash, walking, there's no physics, it's an action. It's not a noun, it's not a physical thing. Mashain came in a Nedarim. Nedarim need to be chal on something physical. Amar Rav Yehuda, how do you interpret our Mishnah? Amar Rav Yehuda, Omer Yasar Pila Dibura Yadai L'Masayim Ragla Lehiluchan. He says, I'm taking the neder on my mouth. It's not that I'm taking a neder that I'm not going to talk with you. My mouth, the neder should be chal on my mouth, so that I shouldn't be talk with you. It's going to be chal on my physical hands, that I shouldn't do malacha. For you, Ragla Lehiluchan, it should be chal on my legs. In what regard? That I won't take a walk with you. That ganami the kasani pi medaber imcha v'lo kasani shani medaber imcha. You see it explicitly as a proof from the Mishnah. He says the lashon of his neder is pi medaber imcha. Right? He says on my mouth from speaking with you. V'lo kasani shani medaber imcha. Right? If he would have said Omer chaver konam pi shani medaber imcha. If he had the word shani, right? So it would be on the action. The fact that he says Pi medaber imcha is going on the actual mouth itself, so it's chal on the mouth in terms of speaking with him. He explains on the mouth, not to eat from him, but to speak with him. That's the explanation, but it's really chal on a davar sheish mamash, which is his mouth. Your mouth is a physical thing. If you didn't know that, That's the conclusion of today's Shir. We finished first parak in Nedarim. Congratulations. Stay tuned for Ian Ben Sion, where I want to give my view on what the halacha should be on Bikara Kamatvis or the Hashta Kamatvis. The Gemara does not resolve this question, but I think I have a resolution to the question. I'll tell you what the resolution is and why I think that's true. And Ian with Ben Sion coming up next.